Hey guys, welcome to linguamarina. I recently taken my TOEFL test and I scored 115 out of 120. And this time I only took about 2 hours to prepare because honestly this was my third time taking the TOEFL test, and I found a program that I really like at Stanford. So I decided to take my chances and apply, and the first step of course was taking the standardized tests. In this video we're going to talk about preparing for TOEFL in 2 hours. And of course this is not something I advise at all. Like 2 hours is not a lot of time, but I know there are some of you who are in this situation. Your exam is tomorrow. Comment down below, when is your exam? Like how much time you have to prepare. But I feel like this plan that I'm gonna give you in this video can be made a lot longer. You can dive deeper into each section and prepare for a longer period of time. When I was getting ready for my first TOEFL test, it took me around 2 weeks to prepare. And one thing I wanted to remind you of is that test prep is not the period of time where you learn English from scratch. Test prep is when you get acquainted with the test, when you try to take some mock tests and just understand the whole experience. And TOEFL is an experience that you have to be ready for. Now, let's dive deeper into this video. I will tell you what to expect during the exam and how to get ready if you only have 2 hours to get ready for the test. First of all, of course, you need to understand the format. Yes, TOEFL became shorter compared to the first time I took it, compared to the second time I took it. It just takes around 2 hours to complete, but normally it takes 2.5 hours because you need to allow around 30 minutes for the check-in process. And by the way, I took my TOEFL from home, and I feel like this would be the option for a lot of students these days. You don't have to travel to the testing center. Sometimes you need to go to another country. For one of my tests, I had to go to another country because I couldn't find available spots in my own country. So taking the TOEFL test from home is super convenient, but there are certain things that might come up. For example, when I was taking this TOEFL test in 2024, during the process of checking in, we realized that I didn't have enough RAM space on my computer, and we had to restart my computer many times with the technician, and that took another hour. For some reason, when we restarted it for the third time, it found the necessary space. So make sure your computer is up to date. Well, mine is 3 years old and it still had issues. So make sure your tech equipment is ready. But other than that, it's still like you need to show your driver's license. You need to walk around your room with your computer or whatever has the camera that you're going to be using. Show that you don't have anyone in your room with prompts, no templates on your walls, etc. But the test that lasts for 2 hours is still a lot for your brain. So you really need to make sure that before the test, you actually take a TOEFL mock test so that your brain understands how it should work. Because honestly, when I was taking the test, I think it happened during the listening section, I was like, oh my God, I'm so tired. My table is so dirty. Should I clean my room? Like all of these thoughts started popping in my head, distracting me from the actual experience. So you need to learn how to stay focused. Now let's see what's gonna happen during the test. You're gonna have your reading section that is gonna last for 35 minutes. You're gonna have your 20 questions where you read passages and respond to questions. You're gonna have your listening section that lasts around 36 minutes with 28 questions. That one, by the way, was the hardest for me this time because reading is like 2 texts, but listening, they were like pouring more and more information on me. And I use English every single day. I talk to native speakers, I do business in English. But when it's a mix of academic topics, your brain is just like, oh my God, what's going on? Can we please stop it? But you have to train your brain. And this is like for 2 hours of the prep time that you have, like take as many mock tests as possible. But also watch this video up to the very end because I'm gonna tell you what else you can do to maximize your results during the exam. Now then you're gonna have speaking, which was actually the easiest part for me. It only lasted for 16 minutes. You know, I love talking, obviously, as a YouTuber, and that one was fine. Like my brain was finally able to kind of relax. There is no break, by the way, so make sure you're not hungry, you're not thirsty. You can have your water, but can you go to the restroom? That's a great question. Like, don't go to the restroom. Make sure you're like all set for 2 hours. And then you have your writing part, which was again easier for me. It lasts for 29 minutes and you'll have to write 2 texts. Now what you'll have to do during your preparation is dive deeper into each section. And here are my tips for the reading section. Now, I'll ask you to try to do at least 2 reading tasks before your test. At least 2. Just to understand how it works from your brain perspective, but also to understand what type of texts they give you. Some people say like go straight to reading questions. For me, I still read through the text like really quickly to understand what's going on, to understand what the main subject is, because it's a lot easier for me to answer simple questions that follow the text. Some questions will be more complicated, so I'll need to go back to the text, but with some questions you don't even need to reread the whole thing again. So questions are going to ask you for factual information. What is this text mainly about? And always look for those words like mainly, primarily, because the text can have several topics and the answers will point at them, but they will also be the main topic. So you really need to make sure you're reading the question correctly. Now the text will have like a certain phrase and you're going to be asked what this phrase means. That's why, idioms. Then you're gonna have a vocabulary question, and we're gonna talk about vocabulary in this video. You're gonna be asked to simplify a sentence. You will also be asked to insert a sentence where it makes the most sense in the text. And you will also asked to create the main summary of the text with the sentences that they give you. Now, if you do the reading section test twice before the actual test, that would help you tremendously because you will know what to expect from each question and what kind of answers they're looking for. Another tip from me, if you have doubts about a certain question, complete the whole part. If there is some time left in the end, you can go back to that question and revise it again and see whether the answer is right or wrong. Fun fact, I did it 3 times on all my tests. Like I completed the reading section, went back to a couple of questions that I was doubtful about, and I changed my answers. And on all of the, I think on all of the tests, I got 30 out of 30 on reading. Because sometimes when you continue with the reading part and then you go back to the question, it kind of makes more sense. I don't know how to explain it, but this is how your brain works. Sometimes you're just digging too deep into the text. You're trying to find details that are not there. And sometimes the question is just easy and basic, and you're like, you just need to go back in a relaxed mode and answer the question. So do that. That helped me a lot. Now, if you have some time, of course, brush up your vocabulary. There are lists of words that are frequently used in TOEFL tests. We have a lot of those words in our TOEFL Prep course, where you can find all the necessary checklists and lists of words that you can brush up before your actual test. I will leave the link below, but think about words like sustain, proximity, decline, obtain, mundane, exploit, distribute, deplete, essential, crucial, primary, former, thrive, feudal, conventional, secure. A lot of these words are used in the actual TOEFL test, and when you have this vocabulary question, for example, what does the word empower mean in that sentence? That could be one of your TOEFL questions. So it's really useful for you to know meanings of those words in different contexts. So if you have a question like, Marina, where can I find all of those tests? There is the official ETS website where they have free practice tests. They have several parts. You can go ahead and practice there. If you want more guidance, like if you want to watch a class where a teacher explains what's the right answer, how to look at the question, that's something that you can find in our TOEFL course. Now, listening. This is where your brain starts to explode during the test because you've just done the reading section and now they're feeding you. They're more lifestyle, like the first couple of listening tasks will be more like a bus stop at a university campus or something that has to do with a cafeteria or change of schedule, whatever. Like it's gonna be more basic. This is where your brain can relax. So you're gonna listen to 2 audios like that and you're gonna answer the questions. But then things get a little more complicated. You're gonna have 3 lectures, 3 to 5 minutes each. And those lectures, oh my God, they're gonna dump so much scientific and academic information on you. Okay, let's study this marketing phenomenon. It has several implications. This is how this works in the market economy. This is how this company applied this concept to their products. This is what happened. And there will be so many additional details and things. And this is where you have to write things down. Because at this point, your brain I don't think you're gonna memorize all of the facts. So this is where your piece of paper and your marker comes in handy. And if you're taking your test from home, you could use a whiteboard, or your piece of paper has to be wrapped in plastic so you could erase all the information later. So in these 2 hours when you're preparing for the test, make sure you have those whiteboards. Make sure you practice writing on those whiteboards, because it kind of makes a difference when you write with a marker, and when you do some quick writing with a marker, sometimes you have trouble reading those words later on. So this is something you need to practice. Now for this section, I have several study tips. First of all, do at least one listening section when you're preparing for the test. Make sure you're writing things down on that whiteboard. When you write things down, organize your information in blocks, because that will just make it easier for you to reread it later. And don't let your mind wander. Because, you know, this is something that made me lose 2 points during the listening section, because my mind started going all over the place. With the listening part, one of the trickiest questions will be questions where they're like, oh, what did the lecturer imply when they said that? So basically they're asking you to draw a conclusion from something that was said indirectly. So you need to understand subcontext. Comes with practice. So if you have more time to practice, please practice more. And of course, advanced vocabulary, especially when it comes to talking about campus life. I don't know where you guys are watching from, but in the US, the campus works in a unique American way, which is not true for a lot of countries. Like, for example, in Russia, we do have some of like American campuses, but normally universities in Russia are like standalone buildings throughout the city. So learning what a campus is, learn who's an academic advisor, what is the difference between a lecture and a seminar, what is prerequisite, who's an alumni, GPA, faculty, extracurricular activities, major, minor, scholarship, semester, undergraduate, postgraduate, PhD, master's, credit, transfer. Like all of these words, you need to understand them, because a lot of them are going to be used during this section. Let's move to speaking. My favorite part, just because I love speaking. And I think I got 30 out of 30 for all of my speaking parts, except for my second TOEFL test, which happened in 2020. I think I got 27 out of 30. But this last time I got 30 out of 30. Proud of myself. And something you need to remember here, relax. Like, this is my main advice here, because you can make certain mistakes. You can make several mistakes during your speaking part. You can stumble. All they want to see is that you understand what's going on and that you can say things. They understand that you're nervous. They understand that sometimes you need to pause and think about what to say next. Sometimes you start a phrase and then you realize this is not something you wanted to say, so you start all over again. I did that. I did so many things this time. I feel like even this time, maybe they were kinder to me, because I feel like this time I stumbled. I started some sentences from scratch. I made some mistakes. Like, I think I misused a word and I realized it the moment I misused it, but I was like, oh my God, what should I do now? So it wasn't perfect. It wasn't perfect at all. And I still got 30 out of 30. Because I feel like I followed some guidelines that are really helpful, and I'm gonna share them now. For question 1, give just one reason. It's gonna be a lot easier for you. Like when they ask you, do you think it's better to work from home or work from the office? Like, choose your answer regardless of what you think. Just choose whatever. Like, for example, if you're still in doubt, like you don't know whatever is better, just choose one option with an exact reason. Like, I think it's better to work from home because as a mom of 2 kids, I understand that flexibility is everything. And when my kids are sick, I can actually dedicate some time to them during that day, and I can complete my work later, because if I worked in the office, I wouldn't be able to do that. And this is why I think it's very important to give mothers this freedom to work from home, right? It's not the most objective thought. It's very unique to my own situation, but they don't want you to be objective in this task. They just want you to speak, right? So don't overcomplicate your answer. Don't overthink, oh my God, what if this is the wrong answer? Like, and they have a different opinion. Doesn't matter. You're basically there to show your speaking skills, not the things that you agree or disagree with. Don't rush or panic when you speak. I know it's really hard, but just try to relax. Take notes for all the questions except for the first one. I feel like for the first one, you don't have a lot of time to prepare, and honestly, there's not too much that you can write down. But for the second, third, and fourth question, I would just learn some of the phrases like templates for those questions, and you can find them in our course, but they really help you with the thinking process. For example, in the lecture, professor implies that, however, the student disagrees, etc., like using those linking words, using those phrases that help you structure the answer. They will be super helpful during your test. Don't spend more than 15 seconds summarizing the reading in question 2 and question 3. Include as many details as you can from listening in question 2, 3, and 4. Try to use complex sentences to include as many details in one sentence as possible using those linking words, because they want to see you using these advanced structures. And if you want, you can use some tongue twisters before the actual test to prepare, to wire your brain to the English language mode. And especially if you live in a non-English speaking country, when I took my first test back in Russia, that was really helpful for me. Like the morning before the test, I was listening to things in English. I was talking to myself in English, just to just get into the mode of like, hey, yeah, I'm an English language speaker now. Hey, I'm ready to take the test. And by the way, we have a whole separate channel on TOEFL where we go through each question in more detail. If you have more than 2 hours to prepare, I'm gonna link a video that is dedicated to the speaking section. So please check it out and get ready for your TOEFL test with us. Can you can a can as a canner can a can? One of the tongue twisters. I saw a kitten eating chicken in the kitchen. She sells seashells by the seashore. Or you can find a lot more on the internet. And your last part of the test is writing. This is where you'll have to write 2 texts, and here are my tips for this section. Let me explain you the tasks first. Now, for the first task, you'll have 20 minutes. You will read a short passage and listen to a short lecture. Then you'll write a response to what you read or listened to. For the second task, you have 10 minutes. You're gonna state and support an opinion in an online classroom discussion. Strategies for this part. Once you finish writing, reread the text from beginning to the end, from the end to the beginning, because this way you're gonna find more mistakes. Revise articles, punctuation, spelling. In the first task, organize your thoughts by paragraphs and use the templates. There are templates for the writing section that are super useful. They tell you how to start each paragraph, and they basically help you organize your way of thinking and your way of writing. In writing for an academic discussion, make sure to elaborate your reasons. Don't just state if you agree or not, give more details. Don't really waste time on writing conclusion. You can write a sentence, that's it. Don't waste too much time on writing the whole paragraph. But the middle paragraphs, like your beginning can be short, your ending can be short, and your main paragraphs have to be similar to each other in terms of size. That was it for me for today, guys. I keep my fingers crossed for your test. I'm looking forward to reading your comments. Thank you so much for watching this video up to the very end. Please subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you very soon. Bye!